back. So today we're shooting a special film for those in our segment series, Philosophy in Jiu-Jitsu. This week's quote is submitted by a student, really good student of mine. Remember, I read these quotes and I like to just pick them. This one is by my student Brian, and it is basically a quote that he got from Jordan Peterson, the 12 Rules for Life author. And basically it is better to go inside the lair of a dragon and slay him than allow the dragon to wake up. It's something like that, I paraphrased it. And so we're gonna explain how this would relate to Jiu-Jitsu. So first I'm gonna show the technique, and then I'm gonna talk about the concept, and then talk about it even in theory when you're preparing for a tournament or some big event in your life. All right, so the first way I would show this quote would be guard. I really like guard, right? So this philosophy, this idea of this dragon, so the reason Peterson says it is because this dragon, it's very important, this dragon is sleeping in his lair. We see this archetype played out in a lot of fairy tales. So if you read books like The Hobbit, where there's this epic dragon, you even read these stories like Beowulf, right? One of the most epic in literature. A lot of our students are forced to read it when you're in high school, college, etc., right? The idea of this dragon, this archetype, we get from history and from literature, and it's an archetype for a reason. According to Peterson, when he studies, these different branches of psychology and he goes deep into it, he's basically saying that when we allow our problems to grow and we don't face them right away, they become exponentially worse, right? So if you're able to confront your problem when it's small, then you're able to kill it, most likely, and it doesn't become worse. This is very philosophical. It's good. It's a good life lesson, and it relates really well to Jiu-Jitsu, right? And so this idea of this dragon sleeping in his lair, hoarding his treasure, like we see in the epic The Hobbit, he's at his most vulnerable state, and it's an early part of the story where, the Hobbit is able to go inside the lair and actually combat this huge dragon and find some sort of vulnerable weakness. If this is not taken care of in the lair while he's hoarding the treasure, this dragon is eventually outside of his lair, wreaking havoc on the village and just making the problems worse, right? So that is the analogy, that is the metaphor. It's symbolic of a lot of things, and I'll let you kind of figure that out, how it could relate to your life. How it relates to Jiu-Jitsu is if I don't engage in a type of position, the position will get so much worse for me. So the greatest example is the guard, any type of guard actually. So if I'm waiting too much and too long for him to basically present his passing attack, I'm only making it harder on myself. What do I mean? If I'm waiting here the whole time and we're fighting this match, number one, he gets to calculate and anticipate how I'm moving, right? So if he moves slightly to his right, and then he moves slightly back to his left, then do it again. He's now calculating and forecasting where I'm gonna go. And when he does that, I'm allowing him to dictate the match. I'm allowing him to control the pace. I'm allowing him to feel more confident. So as he moves, he feels better, right? And I'm slowly trying to mimic where he goes. The best thing to do in this position, if I'm open and he moves, go ahead and move, I immediately start engaging him to some sort of guard. Here I did sit up, right? Sorry about that, didn't mean to throw you off balance, but the idea is I immediately engage to throw him off balance, to create my kazushi, to start engaging in the fight. Say, I don't want to wait for him. If I wait for him, like the dragon, it becomes so much worse. If I attack him now, regardless of the outcome, forget about the outcome for now, but let's just think about the principle, right? If I attack him now, then my probability of doing well is a lot higher. So, for example, before he moves, I can engage already. I can pull him into my guard. So now, I'm in an open guard here, for example. If he tries to move, now he's going really with my variables. My spider grip, my foot on the hip, my lapel grip, my sleeve control. So now if he tries to move to his left, I can help him move to his left and start attacking him the way I want. Okay? If I fall back, I'm giving him the time to put the pressure, and then now I got to get out. Now I'm stuck in a position. So another example would be sit-up. I love sit-up guard. If I wait for him, right, and I grab my positions, now he can really start isolating my grips, going into headquarters, And now I got to worry about what to do next. This is not a waiting game for the person on bottom, okay? But if I'm going to initiate and put in my type of guard and start like really focusing on my sequence, then I got to go now. So as he moves, I'm here, I off balance him, I connect my grips, he tries to push me back down, I bolo, he comes back up, I bring him back to the other side, he comes back up, I kick, I connect my grip, and then I can sweep. I'm entering the lair, right? I'm trying to face the dragon. I'm trying to maximize my probability of being successful in this position and minimizing his. And so a lot of people say, oh, keep it playful, play your jiu-jitsu, and there's a time and a place to do that type of training, but the majority of your training should be focused on really engaging and off-balancing your opponent. And the only way you can do that is use this type of philosophy from Jordan Peterson to really maximize your jiu-jitsu. And now that's the technical part. The concept part is you can use this to apply not only the guard, but passing, the submission, the takedown, right? You see wrestlers do this at the highest level. You see judo black belts do it at the highest level. You see jiu-jitsu champions do this at the highest level. Guard players, passers, the list goes on. People who are really good at no-gi, some of the even folk style wrestlers in college, their idea is to attack. If they can attack now, they're able to take control of the fight and feel better, and ironically actually feel less fatigue, feel less strain, and it becomes very psychological. The third way we can look at this approach is the training. So if you overtrain for a tournament, you're maximizing your probability, you're doing the rounds, you're eating well, you're surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, you're teaching yourself to focus on your performance rather than winning. You're just focusing, you're taking notes, you're studying film, you're talking to your coaches, your teammates, and you're really just going to a tournament with all of this. So when you show up at the tournament, you have already increased your chances of not only performing well, but winning, right? And that's ultimately the goal. And if you don't overtrain, and you don't prepare, and you don't study, and you don't do these things, then you show up to a tournament less prepared, so then that makes you question yourself and your training. And so the dragon comes out worse, just wreaking havoc all over the village and into your life. And so how can you apply this philosophy in your jiu-jitsu? It's clearly in the 3 ways I showed, but you can also do this in other things outside the mat, obviously with relationships, with finances, with diet, with lifestyle, with anything that you need to take order in your life. If you don't approach it right away, it grows and it grows and it becomes worse. And when it becomes worse, that dragon becomes nastier, harder to defeat, and it becomes a hell to mess with. And so if you can deal with it now, you'll be so much thankful for it. And I know it's so scary, right? The idea of going to a lair of a dragon while he's asleep. Or you see the film and you read the book, and a lot of these fairy tales talk about it, right? But there's a reason why they're there. It's like the idea like, oh, you can have a better chance if you go in there while he's asleep. It's still very scary to confront these dragons, these problems. But if you don't do it, like, it becomes a lot worse. And so in jiu-jitsu, I see it all the time. Students are too passive. They're waiting. Then they're behind on points. Then they got to get out. No, you got to give it to them. You got to go hard. You got to make sure you're technical. You got to make sure you're engaging in the fight, off-balancing, or whatever the principle is you're working on, and you're going to find a lot more success, and the same thing in life. So hope you all enjoyed this. Please, please, please like, subscribe, press the notification bell. It's at the corner. Also, leave in your comments what you thought of this quote by Jordan Peterson. And please send me more quotes, because I read them all the time and I start to use them to actually teach some of my students. So I'm going to start posting on them more, and I hope you all really enjoyed this. So till next time, guys, keep rolling.